June the 19th, the year 2000.
Trying to work it yet.
There we go.
Okay. I was born in 1923 in Clayton, North Carolina. Went to Clayton Primary School, lived only one block from the school. Went to high school, and in high school, I really got into little mischievous things like stopping the stoplights at night and ringing the bell during church. And my daddy was in church one Sunday night, and the high school bell rang, and when he came home, he just said, "I know you did it, so just bend over." And so I bent over, and he spanked me because I did do it. But we had a good time in high school, a lot different now than it was back in those days. And I started working in the drugstore at an early age and worked behind the soda fountain. And when I first started working behind the soda fountain, one of the first things I learned was a lot of people in Clayton like to buy and drink small bottles of Cappadine. That was a pick-up back in those days. The nearest thing to it right now is probably a small dose of amphetamine or a reducing tablet to lose weight, kind of pick it up. It has antipyrine in it, ammonia, sodium bromide, caffeine. Caffeine's a stimulant. Also has ammonium carbonate. And the dose on Cappadine was 1 teaspoonful every 4 to 6 hours. And this is a little bottle that holds 1 ounce. So 1 bottle of this would be 6 times the maximum dose of Cappadine. But at that time, nobody measured Cappadine. They would take a swallow 2 out of the Coca-Cola and reach in the pocket and pour a little bottle of Cappadine in the Coca-Cola like nobody could see what they were doing. And they would drink that, and about 4 hours later, they'd come back and get another one. So that was a thing that kept a lot of them going. And it started out in the small bottle, and then started buying it by the pint. And I'm sure when it was bought by pints, nobody ever measured it.
Probably didn't know to.
Didn't measure, they just poured it out. But you see the ingredients and you wonder how they managed to take 6 times the normal dose of the ingredients in Cappadine. But that went on for years and years, and even as far back as 10 years ago, people were buying Cappadine by the pints. And that is the only way it is made now and distributed, pints only, and has none of these ingredients in it at all.
You could still buy Cappadine.
By the pint only.
Oh.
And it has no...
Where did they buy it back when you were talking?
Well, the wholesale drug company sold to the drug stores, and O.G. Smith had a wholesale, and they sold Cappadine. They probably sold as much Cappadine as anybody in Clayton.
Somehow I always assumed that the drugstore sold it.
The drugstores did sell
In other words, it was an over-the-counter.
over-the-counter.
And it was like for pain or headache or something.
That's what it's used for headache, and it cost 15 cents a bottle.
Golly.
So you could get a pickup for 15 cents and a 5-cent Coca-Cola.
That was a cheap
Buzz.
picker up.
That was a cheap buzz, and it was habit forming. The antipyrine and the caffeine and the bromide just really habit forming.
Yeah.
And a lot of people were addicted to Cappadine. And over the years, many bottles have been found in and around Clayton, and I have several bottles. I have two here that were made in probably 20, 25 years apart. The difference in the two glass containers. But this is the size of 1 ounce bottle. It was 6 times the normal dose.
Isn't that interesting? I knew that would be a good story. And it'd be a better story if we could name some names for it.
Can't name any names.
I don't think we ought to.
There we go.
And while we're talking about bottles, I have another bottle, which is a pint bottle, Clayton Dispensary, which was a whiskey bottle made on Main Street where the town square is, town shop is now. That was well over 100 years ago. They made pints and half pints. I have 2 pint bottles, and I had a half a pint I gave to my niece in Atlanta, who is a pharmacist. It's real interesting. There's not many of these bottles around. They mostly are found out in fields where farmers are plowing, and that's where they originated. Swade Hardy was plowing and found this one for me. And the market value on those bottles now anywhere from $150 to $200.
I didn't know if they still were, but
And that's
Mother had one, and strangers would knock on her door.
and this is a pint size. Only 2 sizes I think it were made with a half pint and pint.
It seemed like I remember somebody telling me that Roy Atkinson had a big one. I mean, big. But I asked Mildred about it. She says, I believe he finally sold that or gave it to somebody. Because I was going to ask her to donate it to the library.
And while we're talking about bottles, when I was a young boy, right across the railroad track from O.G. Smith was an old drugstore that was owned by the McCullers family. It was right next to Dr. Young's house. And I remember going from school over to visit my cousin, and we would get to that drugstore. Of course, it was vacant. The windows were out, but the beautiful apothecary bottles were all around, sitting on the shelves. And we would throw rocks to see how many we could break. And now I would give anything in the world if I just had one of them. I do have several, but they are 125 or 135 years old right now. And just think, we were breaking them.
They were so pretty.
They were beautiful.
Now, this drugstore was on Front Street.
Right, Front Street.
Okay, and it would be where?
Right close to where Mel McCullers lived. Mel was on the corner. This was a little near Dr. Young's house, which is still standing.
Okay, which house was Dr. Young's house?
Where Judy Edwards, not Judy, big house on Main Street, on Railroad Street, Front Street.
Okay. That's Judy Edwards lives there.
Okay, yeah.
At that time, you know, a lot of businesses were on that.
That's where the town
on
was.
that street. That's where the town was. That's where the bank, the hotel, train station, and the traveling salesman would come in, spend the night at the hotel, and call on the merchants during the day, and spend the night and leave the next day.
This food was the best cook in North Carolina.
Yeah.
All the traveling salesmen knew where the food was.
Yeah. I remember seeing pictures of the hotel. It was right where Mary Hocutt's house is
That's
now.
right. Yeah. I don't think Clayton was too good about saving what was old.
Oh, good gracious. If we just had the Horn house down on Main Street. That was a shame and pity to
Well, it
lose
was.
that.
But you know, we all knew that it was for sale, and nobody did it.
It's our own fault.
I know. Hindsight is 20/20.
We could have all just pitched in a little bit, and
we,
Pam would have had it.
we could have had it.
Yeah.
And even Cedric O'Neill, years and years ago, had an idea about serving meals there, and he did.
Yes, I was just thinking,
I
his daughters, didn't he have twin daughters, and then an older girl, and they served
They served meals.
They served lunch
Yep.
there, and you could go in and just buy. I mean, you just went in and they served. It was like family style. You sat down, and whoever was sitting at that table with you, you sat there and ate. I remember eating there.
They served lunch there, and
was that at the hotel?
Horn
was at the Horn
House.
Mansion
Oh,
house
I
on
sure
Main
didn't know.
Street.
Nobody invited me.
But I was just a small
Yeah.
boy. But a lot of people ate there, and there's so many things could be in that place now.
Yeah.
Bed and breakfast and a nice restaurant. They would come from everywhere.
Wouldn't those Yankees have a fit if they could see that and see it for sale?
Oh yeah, good gracious. And that glass door in that thing at night, that came from England. And the glass and just all different colors. It's just out of this world. And every room had a mantel, fireplace, mantel.
Well, I've heard that when they tore it down that a lot of things were sold, you know,
Oh yeah.
for things like that. And the pretties got something, I forget what it was, but a chandelier or maybe the front door, I don't remember.
You know, Walter Pretty tried to get to town. He would buy the house, give it to the town, if they would make it into a park and restore that house, and they wouldn't do it.
That was foresight, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Now, when was that? When did he make that offer?
That was way back. He married Astor Horn's daughter, Walter Pretty, and they lived in Wichita Falls, Texas. And he was real interested in Clayton.
He still is.
Yeah.
Or his children
His
are.
son,
Uh-huh.
his son is still interested in
Yeah.
Clayton.
And
Much of this library,
yeah,
Yeah,
money from
and
Pretty Foundation.
the Horn Memorial Methodist Church was Horn, and the Horn Cemetery. There's a trust fund set up in the town hall now
oh really?
to maintain that cemetery as long as it is there.
How? All right. When was
Walter
that?
Pretty put the money in that trust fund.
The house was torn down 1969 or 70, if that, isn't that right?
I believe it was 7. The centennial was 69. It
Right,
was torn down next year.
Yeah, I think that'd be right.
When did Walter Pretty set up that trust fund for the Horn Cemetery?
Horn Cemetery. Mm-hmm.
What year was that done?
That was way back in the 30s. And the last person to be buried in the immediate Horn section, which is fenced in completely, but also the big horns there's a tall monument, tall as the
Yeah.
ceiling. But in that fence, the last person buried was Ashley Horn, little
Right.
Ashley, and his wife Tootsie, which she died last year. Ashley died in 1991, and he was buried
Relax, has it been that long?
1991.
Well, you would remember better than
And
I.
his wife died in 1999. And it was just room enough to get them in that. Ashley is this way, and Tootsie is this way. And that was the only spaces available in that. She wanted him to be buried with his mother and daddy.
Good.
And they're right opposite, right over here.
Well, Charlie is over there, but he's not inside the fence.
He's not inside the fence.
I go up there. I used to go up there once in a while.
You took me over there one time.
Did I?
We wandered around. Yes, we wandered
And I
around
kept
there.
wondering who these strange people were. Why were all the creatures in there?
And Mr. Norman Cable is buried over there.
Yeah, the cables and what was it? I'm not gonna think of that name. Locklear? No, that's not it.
It's some names you can't figure why they're over there.
I couldn't.
And I can't.
Well, now I solved one of them, but I can't think of the name now. She was a postmaster for several years, back early. And I kept wondering why she was there, or why he was there, I forget which. But then when I got to working with the postmasters through the years, there she was. And so I started looking for something, and her mother was, that's awful. I hope.
No, it's not. It's all.
I'm not
Well, I'll keep going.
Okay.
And just talking about the Horns, Ashley Horn and his wife Tootsie are the last descendants of the Horn family.
And Charles
That
died before Ash.
And he had a daughter that was killed in a wreck.
Yeah.
Ashley and Tootsie had a daughter, so there'll be no more Horns. That is it. It's a final Horn.
So many of the old names have died out. There's no gullies left.
Mm-hmm.
There are barbers, and I believe there will be barbers, but the McCullough have died out.
Yeah.
Everybody except Guynell, she ain't no help.
No. And Guynell is buried over there too.
Has Guynell been married?
Excuse me, I'm
Y'all
sorry.
got nails
Melba.
over at Bryanson.
No, not her.
Melba.
Melba.
Yeah.
Melba McCullough's is there. And there's some more McCulloughs, and some have been buried recently, but I don't know their names, and I don't.
They don't
Yes,
tie in.
I don't. No. But it's maintained pretty good by the town. Sometimes you have to jog your memory, but they do keep it cut.
They get a new employee and he doesn't know anything about it.
Yeah, but the trust fund is there and will be there from now on.
Yeah.
Walter Pretty saw
He
that.
has really
Lynn
been
Swananoa,
Yeah.
his wife Swananoa Horn.
And I remember somebody wrote and asked for something, and by that time, Swananoa had died, and her son was handling the fund,
Mm-hmm.
and they turned him down. The son turned Clayton down for whatever it was, Papa came up and he says, "You're not to turn anything down from Clayton."
Mm-hmm.
And he has been good.
Yeah.
I didn't know that he had ever done anything for our church, but our records are not very good.
Well, Mr. Pretty's son stays in touch with Carrie.
Yeah.
So, he's getting on up in age too.
Well, he is, yeah.
Getting up, but
It probably will die when he's gone.
yeah. But there's a lot of history over in that small cemetery.
Yeah. I finally figured out who most everybody is. There was a young boy, and what was his name? I'm not gonna think of that one either.
I know who you're talking about.
Graham, no. Powell, no.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
One of them was real smart. Went to school in New York. Studied in
Are
New
you thinking
York.
about Dr. Horn? That was who wrote those books? Ida C. Harold Horn. That was her son, and she was married to Hardy Horn. Is that right?
Yeah.
And
this is. Well, I remember Daddy talking about Hardyhorn, and I remember him talking about the one that was in school in New York, and he was a professor.
yeah, I think that's the same one.
Could be Hardyhorn.
And
I believe it was Hardyhorn is correct. That's right.
But he was not named Hardy. It was Herbert or Hubert or Howell or something. It's all back there in the room. If we could get down to it.
Well, Mr. Astorhorn ran for governor,
Yeah.
and there's also a monument on the ground of the state capitol.
Not too many people know that.
Put there by the horn.
Yeah. I did a little research on Mr. Ashley because to me he put Clayton on the map.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked Roy Atkinson. I don't have Alzheimer's, I've got Alzheimer's. I asked Roy Atkinson, I said, did you ever hear anything about him but having any hanky-pank or anything? He said, no, I can't think of a thing. And I think he was just a genuinely good man.
Yeah.
At that time, I was working on church history. They were going to build a little $10,000 new church about 1910 or something like that. And Mr. Charlie was head of the building committee. Well, next thing we knew, Mr. Ashley was head of it. And he said, well, let's don't stop it. Let's don't say 10,000. Let's just see what we can do. And he knew how to do it.
Yeah.
The people to this day that swear those windows are Tiffany. They may be, but we can't prove it.
Mm-hmm.
But they are exceptional.
They look just like the Tiffany windows that are in that little church in Petersburg in Virginia. They look just like it. The only thing is, and I asked the museum, the lady there who was in charge of it and everything, they are not initialed. I told her that ours were not initialed.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked closely at all 13 windows in there, and every one of them were initialed. And there's our Tiffany.
Uh-huh.
But the colors and Jesus' feet in our windows at the church are just like those in those Tiffany windows. So it's just hard to believe that they're not, because the same colors and the,
They're the most beautiful windows you'll ever see anywhere, in any church.
Yes, they're prettier than the ones in Dutton Church, to me. Because, for one thing, they're larger than the ones.
They're beautiful.
in that church.
I remember when Jerry Smith was here, this Tom Butchko had been employed by the county to come and pick out certain things that were noteworthy, you know. And he and Jerry were looking at the windows, and the man was looking at them, you know. And here comes Rosalie waddling in. And he says, "But I don't think they're Tiffany." The hell they're not. And the next thing they knew, that was Jerry Smith slipping out the back door. And she's argued with him, just unmercifully.
You know, another thing about the Horns, a lot of people didn't know, Mr. Ashley Horn was real interested in trains. Now, he loved that train station. And little Ashley, his son, started working in the depot with Mr. Frank when he was just a young boy.
Really?
And he went with the railroad. And his
I
first
had
job
heard
was
that.
in Greensboro. And then he was promoted and moved to Atlanta. And he stayed there until he died.
Oh, you know about our age?
Little Ashley,
Yeah.
the one that died in 1991.
Yeah.
He was
He was a cute boy.
He was with the train station and stayed with them until he retired. And his first job was in Greensboro.
I
And
remember
his daddy, until the day he died, he had an electric train in his house, and he played with that train every day.
Really?
Sure did.
Dr. Brooks used to say that he worked on the railroad, and he'd come by close to, I guess it was about where the new post office is now, and he would stop, and his mother would have sent him supper down there, a meal,
Mm-hmm.
and he'd take the meal and go on.
Who, little Ashley?
No, this would be Mr. Ashley to you and me.
Okay.
The one that never did amount to much.
Okay, all right.
But he was a sweet old man.
He loved.
Okay, little Ashley. Now the one that we know was the third, right?
Yeah, but there was,
Right.
Third. Okay.
but I think the third was the one that was Ashley Jr. But the other one was never called Ashley Jr.
Let's see,
It is good.
Ashley. See, it was Mr. Ashley Horn, and then Charlie Horn, Ashley Horn, Charlie Horn, and then Ashley, little Ashley.
Yeah. They stuck to those two names.
Every one of them, Ashley, Charlie, right
Yeah.
on down the line.
That's right.
And Ashley's wife, Elsa, died when she was about 43 years old.
I remember she died young.
Real young.
She was a nice person.
Yeah, real young. And they had some beautiful jewelry. And little Ashley's wife, Tootsie, she wound up with a big, big diamond that was handed down all the way from that big Ashley right on down. And that is a whopper, and now her daughter has it. But Charlie had a lot of valuable stuff in his
He
house
didn't know
on
he had
Stalin
it.
Street,
Yeah.
and those girlfriends just loaded it off.
Sure.
Just
And
no,
he didn't care.
mm-mm. No. the sad part, he and Ashley didn't get along too well at the last, because they were entirely two different people.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Entirely different.
Well, what was Charlie's wife's name?
The one that had the baby,
Yeah,
Louise.
yeah. Well, she sold a lot of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
I heard.
Now she got some of the stuff, but she didn't wind up with like the other people did.
Yeah.
Because in a way, Louise was good for Charlie. She helped straighten him out some, but then he got tangled up with the wrong people, and they just wiped out, and no telling. I know I've heard Ashley say no telling what they hauled out of there.
Barrel upon barrel of stuff.
Mm-hmm. But I know that diamond ring, I know where that is.
And she's not married and doesn't have any children, does she?
Mm-mm.
Oh, boy.
So it will be no more.
That's right. Who were some of the teachers in the high school when you were there?
Eloise Spargo. Let's see, Karen Nelson, Miss Lineberger.
Yeah, they were in grammar school, weren't they?
Yeah. And
Lineberger was here when...
she taught me in the 5th grade, I believe. And Karen Nelson taught me in the 4th grade. And she kept me in golf balls that Jimmy would give her. And Jimmy and Lawrence, had 2 cars just alike, blue Oldsmobile.
Oh,
I thought they were the prettiest cars I've ever seen, and they were rooming together, at Dr. Brooks. So Jimmy would keep me in golf balls, and Lawrence would try to teach me how to play golf. Jimmy didn't play golf. But Carrie, and then Creech that lived at Paul Wallace's house, she taught me.
I can't remember her.
And then in high school, Mr. Wilder.
Yeah.
Um,
He tried to teach me math, and he never did get it across.
Mr. Welts.
Where was Bess Noble?
Yeah, Alice Noble. I never will forget Alice. And Edith Modlin, Mary's sister.
Yeah.
Mary Hinton's sister. And we didn't have a whole lot of teachers in high school. We just had about one for each grade. We
That's
didn't have
right.
a whole lot of teachers in high school.
That's right, we didn't.
They taught more than one subject.
Was Helen Gully teaching in high school?
Who?
Helen Gully.
She came back, I believe. But she taught at Cleveland too.
Yes, But I was thinking before Cleveland.
Yeah, she.
Was she teaching at high school?
I'm not
Then,
sure.
I don't know. Well, she probably didn't teach when those boys were young.
No, she didn't.
She probably didn't teach those years.
She was teaching at Cleveland at the same time Gladys Creech and Sarah.
Right.
Richardson.
And Flossie Barber. Saw a picture in the annual the other day of Miss Gully, Gladys, Mary Taylor, she was on the school board, or the advisory board. Miss Gully was teaching out there then. That was in 47.
I guess I was thinking of when she was younger.
Yeah,
I mean, didn't she come here to Clayton to teach?
yeah, you know, yes, she did, yeah, she did.
A lot of Clayton citizens came to Clayton to teach and got married.
Yeah, and Miss Lita Allen and Miss Janie Gully were the first grade teachers.
Yeah, that's right.
And Miss Janie, she was a good teacher. Miss Lita Allen was a good teacher. Tom Lambeth came after was he here before?
He was before Mr. Welch.
He
Tom.
He followed. Who's that man that was here? Hassel.
Hassel. Yeah, Hassel.
He was when he left. Then Tom Lambeth came, and I think he came in about 1932, because that's the year we came to Clayton.
Mm-hmm.
And I was never under Mr. Hassel, but I was under Tom Lambeth. And then Tom Lambeth left when we were graduated in 1938.
Mm-hmm.
I got him down pat.
Yeah. Well, you know what his son did. He was at Smith Reynolds Foundation.
He did all right, didn't he?
He did fine. And I saw in the Journal the other day from Carolina where he was retired.
Yeah, he was good to the library.
Mm-hmm.
Tom was,
Mm-hmm.
and he brought his parents down here for some big to do.
Mr. Lambeth came for the dedication.
Okay,
Was
I couldn't
live.
remember what it was.
And he was feeble then.
Yeah,
He was feeble.
but he has not died, has he? That we know of.
Yeah, he's dead now.
I told Betty.
Yeah, but I believe it was one Sunday afternoon, wasn't it? One Sunday afternoon.
Probably.
Yeah, because I remember he came.
I told Betty that I would probably get some money out of that Smith Reynolds, but before Tom left all the way.
Yeah, but he's out now.
I thought he was go see somebody else through sometime. I don't know.
But he retired. He had retired, or he's getting ready to retire.
Yeah, I knew that, but I thought what I saw was that he was going to stay on for a few months or something to bring somebody else in
Yeah.
that wouldn't do what he said when they left.
It'd be nice to get some of that money for the library, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think we did get somebody, but Betty wants to. She needs $2,000 from several people,
Mm-hmm.
and you know it's bad to have to ask the same ones over and over again. And she wants to she will build
Meeting room.
a meeting room
Mm-hmm.
out here in front, because this was a meeting room, and we've outgrown that one, so they moved back that to the children's room, and now that's gone. And we don't have a meeting room now.
Well, Charlie, what's some of your fondest memories of Clayton, growing up in it? Other than ringing the school bell.
Well, we were always doing something like that.
But of course, then we have to remember the bell was outside because the fire escapes were outside on the
Yeah,
little building.
so
you had access to
we
it.
had to go up the steps to ring the bell.
That was a lot of trouble, wasn't it?
Yeah, but I remember Miss Sam Ellis was a policeman, and we turned the stoplight off at the switch and just keep it on red, you know, and backing cars up. We'd jump over Armacolas hedges and hide. One night he got us and carried us all home, and we all got a spanking that time too.
Who is we?
Sway Jr. and your brother Bud, and
You know Bud didn't do that.
yes, Bud did. Bud and I were horseshoe champions at
Really?
Camp Tuscarora.
Oh, really?
Sure were.
I remember we went down there one Sunday afternoon. I thought we would never get back. It was the furthest place, and when I found out later, it was just down there at the Goldsboro.
Yeah, Dudley.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
$7 a week, 3 meals a day.
Probably never had it so
Yes,
good.
but it was rough camping. I mean, I went down, Mike was down there. That was rough camping.
Well,
That was real camping.
Well, that was probably, was that Bentonville? Or
No, it's Tuscarora.
well, it's still Tuscarora, but this was Dudley, had big lake. It was not fancy by any means, but for $7 a week,
You could rough it up.
yeah, we had a good time. We had a good time.
But when you talk about hanging up your food in trees and your clothes to keep them from being messed up, I mean, that is roughing it.
Who was
Yeah.
that, Mike?
Yes. I got down there to have a parent visitation day or something in the middle of the week, so I drive down there. Got down there, and of course he really didn't want me to be there, so I left soon afterwards. I thought he'd be thrilled to death to see me, but he wasn't too happy. I mean, he wanted me to go home. But why did you come, Mama? That
Yeah.
kind of mess. But they had these duffel bags hanging up in trees to keep
Keep the varmints.
bugs and varmints away from and everything.
I believe we had it better than that.
Now this was at Tuscarora, and they stayed in tents.
Now that we had cabins, and it was boarded up, and up at top it had green wire around.
Oh, this wasn't that nice.
And we had bunks.
Probably had run down.
We had a good time. We really did. And Bud and I were horseshoe champions. But they were the good days, though.
Yeah,
We really
they were the easy days.
had a good time. You know, we seniors went to Washington on a school bus back. We came along, and Mr. Nettles, I forgot to mention him as a teacher, but
Nettles.
Nettles.
I don't know that name.
He was going to drive the bus, and he got drunk. So Slade Hard had to drive the bus to Washington and back.
Was he 16?
He didn't even have his license.
Everything was all right, though,
We
wasn't
got there and back.
it? Lord have mercy.
Had a good time. But we didn't ever see Mr. Nettles. Miss Sykes went.
Oh, my gosh. She was a tough old bird.
Yeah, Miss Sykes and we were in a court, one of the little sleeping area for girls and sleeping area for boys, and Miss Sykes was checking everything out one night and got over to the girls' place, and Swade Hardy crawled under the bed, and she said, "Swade, come on out, I know it's you because I see your foot. As big as your foot is, I know that's you. Come on out." So Swade had to crawl out.
Oh.
But we had a good time. We didn't do anything bad. We just mischievous.
That's right, it's just pranks.
Yeah, we just
We
had a real
we didn't know
real
how to
good
do
time.
anything bad.
Just in the junior senior banquet compared to now, we met in the hall of the high school,
So did we, yeah.
and the junior class had to wait on the seniors, and when the seniors got there, the junior class had to wait on us, but we never had anything except in the hall.
Home by 9 o'clock, weren't you?
Yeah, yeah. Gracious, now they have limousines and go to Raleigh to these big places.
I don't know how the kids can afford it.
But we had a good time. It was good. We had some good teachers. Good Norvell. We always kidded Norvell and Miss Alice Noble, but then
Her name wasn't Alice. What was it? Bess Noble.
Bessie Noble. Alice, I remember from pharmacy school. Excuse me, Bessie Noble. I was up at the pencil trim one morning, and Norvell was down there on the ground, and Miss Noble was teaching, and I said, Miss Noble, here's Norvell Bryan down here, he's looking for you. Boy, she popped me right side the head. And so I didn't do that anymore. But she didn't want to be teased about it.
Well, I don't much blame her. I don't think there was ever anything to it much either.
It was nothing to it, but we...
Don't have any sports to amount to anything. Like football, you didn't then.
We didn't have football. We had baseball and basketball. And the coaches, we never had a good coach. Nettles, the bus driver, he coached. And we played Needham Broughton. I don't know how we ever got on the schedule. But, you know, they had in the gym, had a balcony all up. And he said, first one that shoots the ball and it gets in the balcony, he's coming out of the game. So we were getting beat bad, you know, playing Needham Broughton. So we just dribbling down the court, and I just threw that thing just as hard as I could, and I threw it up there. And he got me and jerked me out of that ball game. And Jim Johnson, you remember Jim Johnson?
I remember him.
He was another one that we had to go to Wendell one night to play basketball, and the bus station was a drugstore then. And Jim got off the bus, and he just fell off. So we had to get him, carry him to Wendell. We put him in the bathroom, set him on the commode. We went out and played the ball game, went back, Jim still sitting on the commode. He's so drunk he didn't know where he was or anything.
Oh, he was. God,
So we didn't have coaches. We did our own coaches.
Yeah, it's just who would...
Yeah.
You be coach this year, somebody else next year.
Yeah. It just depends on what condition the coach was. We just put him down and just do the best we could.
Well, let's see, the first one that ever amounted to anything was Joe Hicks, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah, when Joe came, now
that turned around. And he had the 7-year, seven man.
Yeah, he won the state championship. William was on that team up in Hickory.
Yes, that was 1953, I think.
Yeah,
I remember.
Or fall of 52.
we chartered a bus and went up there for
I remember that my mother wanted to go worse than anything in the world. She knew nothing about the game.
She went, though.
She sure did, and I went with her. And I thought, God knows, we neither one knew anything about it. But because we were going to Hickory, that was only 15 miles from where she was reared.
Mm-hmm.
Little town about this big named Rosewood College.
Mm-hmm.
She thought that everybody from Rosewood College would be there. And she was just like this.
But Joe Hicks was so superior to any coaches we had.
Yeah.
It was just...
Well, he got you started.
He just turned the program around.
Yeah.
In 1 year's time, he just...
Did Glenn follow him? Or was it somebody else in between there?
I reckon Glenn did come in after...
There was somebody else.
In between?
But I can't remember who it was.
Probably
there
a
was-
one-year man.
No, it was somebody for...
I know
they hadn't been here for 2 or 3 years.
Joe and
least.
Connie, they came to Clayton about 49, didn't they? 49 or 50? Because it,
They probably came in 50 because you remember Mr. Paul Golden was here one year,
yeah,
and he was here the year before, but they didn't have they didn't have football, but he had the champion basketball
yeah.
team. And then Mr. Hicks came after that. And there was somebody after Mr. Hicks before Glenn Nixon, but I don't remember the name.
And I just thought of another coach we had was Mr. Crutchfield.
Yes, Mr. Crutchfield was before. Mr. Crutchfield was here before Mr. Golden.
Yeah. I was out of school then, and he was living
In the little house
right across the street where Charles Williams lives now.
That's Roy McCullough's owned that house.
Yeah.
The Hicks lived there too when they came.
Miss Pegpool, Miss Poole lived there too.
William and I lived after he got out of school. We lived there for about a year and a half or 2 years.
A lot of different people lived in that little house.
I didn't realize
I
that.
know Mr. and Miss Poole. I was real small when they were living there.
I remember the funniest thing. One of the funniest things I ever heard, but it hadn't been so long, was that somebody was interviewing Glenn Nixon, and then and now, and he said that he has a running conversation with who is it now? Who's the coach now?
Jerry Fowler.
Jerry Fowler, yeah. And Glenn says, he tells Gary, he says, well, you've got more coaches than I had on my team. But he did a good job.
I just happened to think about something on Thursday night after Rotary Club. Your daddy
Yeah,
and Mr. Dwight,
yeah,
Bob and Daddy,
the four of them.
and Lawrence or Jimmy Nelson or somebody played bridge every night.
Every Thursday night.
I mean, that came number one. Nothing interfered with that.
That's right.
And I remember they went down to Mr. Dwight's one night, and Carrie was having all kinds of problems with her homework, and that broke up the bridge game for a few minutes, and they all tried to help Carrie get the problem straightened out, And next morning, Daddy said, Charles, let me see your paper that you're supposed to turn in today on so-and-so. And I said, well, I haven't written it out yet. I know all about it. I'll write it when I get home. He said, well, tell me about it. Just tell me what you know about it. And I didn't know the first thing. And I've always gotten on Carrie Bar about that. But he caught me in a lie right then, and that was another time he whipped my fanny. But we had to be careful on Thursday night, depending on where they played. Where if you went to a certain house, you better get your homework up. But they played that for years and years.
I remember one time they were down at my house, or Daddy's house, and Scott Penn was playing. And Bud walks through the room, and then half a minute later, here comes David Gray through the room. He says, my God, I didn't know you had twins. And at that time, they were so close together. And looked a lot alike, but he was dumbfounded.
They did that, good gracious, right up.
Went on for years and years, didn't it?
It sure did. That was before air conditioning, and then if it was real hot, they'd play on the front porch.
Yeah.
And there was no conversation. It was just strictly.
They played bridge.
They sure did. Strictly business.
So now we know why David Gray enjoyed it so much.
Well, his mother was a good player. And I played for years and years and years. And one time she says, in front of whoever was playing, she says, "You never will learn, will you?" I slammed those cards down. I said, "No, and I never will." And turned around and walked up. Well, that took care of the game that time. But she had to nagged at me.
But we had a high school band, 7 of us, and I don't know how we ever got that band started, but none of us were doing anything. We'd been taking music from Norville, Sway Jr., Nigger Jr., and Bud might have taken, I don't know, Norwood Jones. But when we had a recital, we were all so bad that we had to play a quartet. So if somebody messed up, somebody would keep going. And a lot of times Norville would have to play with us to get us through the whole thing. But anyway, we told him we wanted to start a band. So we got Mr. Gupton from Raleigh to come down.
I've heard that name.
And we had Sway Jr. on the trumpet, Cooper Starling on trombone, and I had a clarinet, and Egg Jr. got what he had. But and they had one fellow, I believe it was Bud, had a big horn. And instead of trying to read the music, which we couldn't do anyway, we played everything by ear. And all Cooper wanted to do was play, "I'm getting sentimental over you," like Tommy Dorsey, and he couldn't do it. And we were throwing tidbits in each other's horn, just a handful of tidbits. And then we had the Christmas program, and we played. And I'll never will forget when I came home today, Mama said, "Charles, I sure am glad you told me what y'all were going to play before I went up there, because when I left, I didn't know what y'all would play." But I used to tell her nerves all pieces practicing the piano. She was a good musician.
Yes, she was.
And I just didn't have it. And I didn't care, and I didn't try. And
never bothered me that I didn't have it.
But I tell you, it makes you bad when you go to your music lesson and Norvell says, "Charles, take this check, give it back to Colonel." I can't take it. I just can't take his money the way you play. So I carry the check back to Dad, and then I get another one. I get a whipping then. And then he tells me to go back, and I go back again. But old Norvell was good to us. We could talk him into carrying us to the beach, and we were too young to drive, and we'd get up one of our dad's car, and Norvell would carry us, and we'd spend the day, and he'd bring us back.
A day trip?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Mr. Bryan used to tell me, he said, "I'm ashamed to take your mother's money. As hard as she works.
I know.
And she certainly doesn't have it. And I'm just so embarrassed to take her money. And you come up here, and you haven't touched a piano since the last time you were here."
But Norvell touched a lot of lives.
Oh, yes.
He really did.
Oh, yeah. I loved him to death.
I did too. And
Loved him to death.
I'll tell you, he just, there's no telling how many folks he touched while he was teaching. I know that my first year at Carolina, I was discouraged. I said, "Well, I believe I'll stop."
Just drop out.
And Daddy sent Norvell over to Chapel Hill. And William, he knocked on the door, and I didn't pay any attention to it. And he knocked on the door again. And I said, pee and float under. And
You were
And he
really in
opened it.
Carolina, weren't you?
and he opened the door. He said, I need to talk to you. I said, if you will, come on out, we'll go outside. I need to talk to you. And he got me out there, and he talked to me. And when I got through, I felt just about like
Oh, yes, he
Like
could do
that.
that to you.
like that. And he kept me in school. If it hadn't been for him, I don't know where I would have finished school or not.
I never knew that side of it because I don't think any of my family ever studied under him. I can't remember. I know I did. I was studied under Miss Sam White,
Mm-hmm.
and she was teaching me all about Beethoven.
Oh, yeah, see,
Oh. She took a different angle to it.
yeah, Mama wouldn't even push me off on that Blanche.
Well, she was good, but she wasn't what I needed. I needed somebody like Norvell. And Norvell's students were a whole lot better taught than Miss White was.
Yeah, but she was, she was strictly, it just right. Everything had to be right, and Mother knew I wouldn't last 5 minutes there, so she pushed me off on Norvell. But that was the best thing ever happened to me. 'Cause
I know I conned Mother into thinking that the reason I was not doing well was because I was taking piano instead of going to school, instead of studying. And so Mother said, well, all right. And went up there and told Miss White that Mother said that she thought my grades would improve if I dropped. Miss White says, well, I don't think grades have anything to do with it. I don't believe the piano has anything to do with it.
But Norvell was real, he put up with a lot, especially with those boys. I mean, they worried him to death, and we didn't try, and he was trying his best to get us to do something, and we had an amateur hour one night. Tom Body, you remember Tom Body?
I remember the name.
He played the banjo. And Clay Jr. and I were going to play Danny Boy. I was on the clarinet and he was on the trumpet. And Clay Jr. couldn't hit the high note on the trumpet, so Norvell said, you hit the high note on the clarinet. So we struggled through that thing, and Tom Barty got the first prize. That was $10. Second prize, $5, and we got that. Tom gave his back to the school. Sway Jim and I, we kept out, but we're not giving it back to the school. We got $2.50 apiece.
Oh, Lord.
But he worked with us for I don't know how long to get us to play Dandy Boy so he could tell what it was.
Oh, Lordy.